Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Hamara Agle webinar series in the ADP program, the Associate Degree program. And aaj mera mehman bahut special hai kyunki I'm delighted to have with us Arusa Miraj, who is the head of HR and admin at DKT Pakistan, which is one of our largest private providers of family planning and reproductive health here in Pakistan. And we've got Dr. Shams Hamid, who is the Dean of Faculty of Social Sciences here in Iqra, as well as the Director of Imagine, the Institute of Future Sciences. And I will be talking to you a little bit about that in a second. But bahut shukriya, thank you for being here today. Aaj hamara topic hai is skills for tomorrow. And I think this is a really important topic because hamara dunya mein is changing at a rapid rate, and the skills required in the job market for tomorrow are going to be very different from what they are right now today and what they have been for the last 50 years or so. And we've gone through obviously an industrial revolution 200 years ago. We're now recently gone through a digital revolution, and we're soon going to be going through a automation and AI revolution, and we're already actually in that revolution right now. And so the skills required in the workforce are going to be very, very different. We're seeing jobs eroding at a rate because of AI and because of automation. And what will be required of applicants in the future? So if you are about to study for a bachelor's or you're going into an associate degree program, this is the webinar for you. So I will begin with Dr. Shams. So you're the Director of Imagine, the Institute of Future Sciences here at Iqra. Ye kya hai?
Okay, that's a very important question because most of the people haven't heard about this Future Studies Institute, although it's nothing new and it is coming up all over around the world in different countries. Iqra University is the first university in Pakistan who has established this Institute of Future Studies, and UNESCO also considers futures literacy to be one of the foundational competencies required to adapt with the changing future, which is changing very quickly. Future studies is basically about planning for future or for creating your future. So there are different kind of views about futures. We used to have Foresight Institute almost in all the ministries of the government or different departments. We used to have those Foresight Institute. हम वहाँ पर क्या करते थे? हम करते थे prediction का काम. We used to do prediction using quantitative method, and we would predict the future. Now we have realized that future is something which you cannot but only imagine. There is no other way to access future except for imagining it. So when you are imagining the future, we create different kind of alternatives of future. For instance, when a student joins in at Iqra University, they can choose from multiple programs and they can have different kind of scenarios for their future career. अब ख़ास तौर पे जिस ज़माने में हम रह रहे हैं, तो इसमें जैसे आपने कहा कि there was an industrial revolution back 200 years back, and our curriculum, our pedagogy was set up for that particular age and time. Now we have come a long way, and we have not seen a lot of changes in education itself. So the job of a futurist would be to try to create different kind of alternatives for futures education, for instance, in that matter. And there is inherent capacity within all of us कि हम future को anticipate करते हैं. We all do that, and we never have sufficient information to think about our future. So with that insufficient future evidence, we still make decisions about future. So how do we do that? How can we enhance the capacity of anticipation? How do we enhance our creative thinking? How do we enhance our critical thinking? How do we bring emotions into the play? So that's what we do in future studies. And we also have one course that we offer, and it is a mandatory course for all the students of Iqra University, where we introduce them to the futures studies, and we also take them to their individual future career. I mean, what do they want to do? We provide them different kind of templates, help them to shape their own future career. So, and besides that, we are also in talks with UNESCO for Future Studies Chair, and that would help us participate in the network that UNESCO has created, and that would also help us disseminate this futures literacy capacity to the common people, to our students, as well as to community.
Great. So, Rusa, आपके ख्याल में which jobs जा रहे हैं and which jobs are रहे हैं? As an HR, director, what are you seeing in the future?
Yeah, so I think the rightly pointed out by Dr. Shams. So future is something that you can imagine, and preparing the students for the future, I think that's the way forward. कौन सी jobs जा रही हैं? वो सारी jobs जा रही हैं which requires a lot of transaction. So all transaction related jobs are being taken up or will be taken up very soon in future by technology. So कौन सी jobs आ रही हैं? Jobs that require critical creative thinking, jobs that require problem solving, jobs that require emotional intelligence, jobs that require human touch. ये सारी jobs जो हैं are the future.
So I think you're absolutely right, but for people watching, we talk about critical thinking, we talk about emotional intelligence, we talk about these sort of skill sets, but what does that actually mean? Because they sometimes sound like buzzwords, critical thinking, for example, ये क्या मतलब है?
देखिए, critical thinking basically an ability of an individual to think beyond the obvious, to think of a problem not from the perspective of the problem, but thinking about the solution. And you're absolutely right. This is something which cannot be taught as a course. It has to be built into all the courses that are being taught. For example, mathematical analysis. Now, students know 2 plus 2 is 4, but why are they doing maths? What is the objective of content? What is the practical implication, and how it can enhance their critical thinking? So all the core courses, all the technical courses need to be taught from the perspective that how they can practically apply those into different situations in real life. And of course, you need to teach students beyond what is in the book. Generally, since I have taught at Iqra University, other universities, spent a good amount of time teaching, मेरा perspective towards the traditional approach to teaching is very different. I feel कि जितना practical implementations के साथ students को सिखाया जाए बेहतर है, rather than just fixing them to a book. Anyways, the world of teaching, training and learning has changed completely over the years. I mean, a student, even a 5-year grade 5 student, can have as much knowledge as she wants. As compared to, so it's not confined to a certain level or a grade. So I think there is so much more to learning. But just to sum up to the answer to your questions, one has to look beyond the book knowledge, develop the human element, element to what one is doing, and obviously look at understand the larger perspective of things. So I think it's way more different than what it was in the past.
Let me bring Dr. Shams in now. Kyunki obviously sort of the perspective in Pakistan is that we tend to do a lot of, in Hamara schools, a lot of rote learning and 2 plus 2 equals 4, as Rusa said. And how are you going about changing it in terms of our curriculum here at Iqra and perhaps other universities? How are they incorporating these new skill sets into the curriculum?
Iqra University, for instance, has really focused and emphasized on interdisciplinary approach. So that was very important, and we did that like 4 or 5 years ago after Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. Wasim Qazi took charge, and he thought that this is the way to go. We have to understand the different disciplines and what is coming out of them, and we have to work together. So that is one approach that we took up. Then we added new courses as mandatory courses for our students in all the programs. One of the courses that we added is critical thinking and philosophy. So, I mean, this is very important. It prepares you to understand problems from a diverse point of view as well as on a systematic basis. There are large systems. It is very hard for people today to understand what is going on. They come from, let's say, social science, so they do not understand what is happening in sciences and how to make sense of it and how to integrate with that kind of understanding, with that kind of knowledge. So that is the hard part, and this course on philosophy and critical thinking was introduced 4 years back almost now, and it is a very powerful course where we talk about how to examine your assumptions. So that is what critical thinking is. अरूसा साहबा ने ऑलरेडी हमें बताया कि क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग क्या होती है. तो क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग इज़ नॉट अबाउट क्रिटिसाइजिंग समवन, इट इज़ नॉट दैट, राइट? That is very important to remember.
That's just being critical.
Yeah. So critical thinking is assessing a problem from different point of views and trying to break the assumptions that is behind one point of view. So that's what we do in critical thinking. And philosophy comes into play. We have logical analysis where we try to do reflection. So there are three parts to education. One is reflection. When you reflect, you think about deduction and induction, like how to come up with a general idea, how to use that general idea in order to predict, right? So that's what we do. That part is reflective part in any kind of education. The other part is introspective, where we try to think about our moods, our emotions. We try to understand how this solution feels like. What does it feel like to me? Like when I'm trying to solve a problem of energy crisis and I come up with a solution, then I need to think, how does it feel like for me and others? So that is introspective part, and which is a very important part. The third part is creative imagination or composite imagination. What we do is that we try to use different ideas which don't fit together, which is not even true, which is not even real, but still come up with those ideas.
Okay, I just want to cut in here. Someone here watching might be saying, but I haven't got a creative bone in my body. I'm not creative.
It is impossible. I just cannot believe that. Anybody without having creativity, that is not possible. Every day we make about 100 decisions, and some of them are very important for us for that day. And every time we are making a decision, we are always thinking creatively. Because if you look at the machines cannot give you an answer if they don't have the required sufficient information. As a human being, I always do that with insufficient information. Yeah. So I'm always creative. So that's how, like, I mean, nobody can say that they are not creative. Nobody can say they are not critical. Nobody can say that they don't use introspection or they don't take into account their emotions. We all do that.
I'm glad you said that. You said that.
Yeah, you nailed it, in fact. Yeah.
Emotional intelligence, you mentioned, and I would just wonder, as someone who deals with HR and deals with people, presumably, how important is emotional intelligence for people who want to climb the career ladder and be the big boss?
Absolutely. I mean, it is generally considered that higher you go up the ladder, the higher the need for you to become competent or become highly competent at emotional intelligence. It's not your, इसकी देखें सबसे बड़ी वजह ये है कि the higher you go up the ladder, the more the people that you're going to manage. It's all about people management. Yeah. How you are understanding people, how you're coming up with solutions, and all those your softer part of your competencies come into play rather than your technical. There will be a lot of people under you who will be dealing with all the technical things. You may not be making the Excel sheets yourself. You know, for example, if you are not a technical expert, if you are not expert in Excel or a particular technical skill, you can hire people who can do all that, but what they cannot do is manage the people for you, is identify, develop a strategy, and that's where your creative thinking comes into play. That's where your emotional intelligence comes into play. So I think emotional intelligence, creative thinking, and you're absolutely right that each one of us is creative and have the ability to create. किस तरह से उन स्किल्स को होन किया जा रहा है, किस तरह से हमारा जो पूरा करिकुलम है, मेथडोलॉजी है, वो इस चीज़ को स्ट्रेंथन कर रहा है, इन्हेंस कर रहा है, और किस तरह से कॉन्फिडेंस दे रहा है कि यस you can also think differently. Here I would also like to talk about the herd mentality. Generally, because I've worked a lot with students as a teacher, as well as I've managed a lot of fresh graduates who are coming in for interviews. So I've interviewed a lot of candidates. One thing that I felt missing lately is their ability to think beyond. For example, एक सिंपल एक ट्रेट है कि जी HR में, फॉर एग्जांपल HR एक फील्ड ले लें, जो कि HR में आपने मास्टर्स किया, आपने HR की फील्ड में आ गई, अब आप इंटरव्यू में पूछ रहे हैं वाई HR, दे डोंट हैव अ कॉन्क्रीट आंसर, हर्ड मेंटालिटी आ जाती है, क्यों HR में किया, क्योंकि जी आई एम अ पीपल्स पर्सन, वेरी टिपिकल आंसर. So this is where they need to think through, and I also would encourage all the students to explore different areas. I think the initial years of their employment are very important. Why? Because they need to explore different areas and identify what is it that they enjoy most, what is it that they are passionate about, what is it that they really want to do in future. For example, I started with teaching and I ended up with HR. Something that probably I did not plan came in my way, and I realized that I'm good at it. This is what I'm enjoying, this is what I want to do. So yeah.
So do you think, and I'll put this to both of you, do you think those soft skills, and someone I read somewhere recently said soft skills, it's a bad term because everyone thinks they're sort of nice to have. They're absolutely vital to have these soft skills, because they are the ones that are transferable, whereas your hard skills, in 5 years or 10 years time might be automated, or those hard skills might be, the industry might change. When I was growing up, there were estate agents on every high street back in the UK. You don't see anyone because everyone buys houses now online. So all those jobs,
accountants, eventually.
Yeah. So would you say soft skills are more important in many respects than those hard technical skills?
Absolutely, and I mean you have pointed out very correctly that those hard skills that we talk about, maybe like artificial intelligence that we are learning today, maybe after 4 years or 5 years we will have an altogether different kind of research on artificial intelligence. The way to do it would change also. But the softer skills, communication, empathy, emotional intelligence, creative thinking, these are the skills that we need for all the time, no matter what we are doing. Whether I am a scientist, whether I am an engineer, whoever I am, I will need that.
And they can all be taught?
All of them. Yeah. We practice it. We have been practicing it. Like I said, there is one course that Iqra University has introduced, Introduction to Philosophy and Critical Thinking. We also have a very important course that we have included, that is Ethics and Social Responsibility. Like today, when we talk about all these software developers, they are developing softwares which are going to impact everybody very strongly. Self-driven cars, when we are writing a software for self-driven cars, we have to make decisions. Those algorithms are out there to make decisions. How do we make those decisions? Those decisions need to be based on ethical consideration. If they are not based on it, then everything will go wrong. So these some of the courses that Iqra University has included from let's say literature, world history, anthropology, sociology. These are the things that we have started teaching our students, no matter whether they belong to business administration, education, psychology, fashion design, computer science, all of them are studying it. और आज हमारी ज़रूरत है, अगर हम लोगों ने जैक मा ने बहुत ही फेमसली कहा कि वो तमाम काम जो मशीनें कर सकती हैं, वो उसके बजाय हमें उन कामों की तरफ देखना पड़ेगा जो वो नहीं कर सकती. तो जैसे बताया रूसा ने कि हम लोगों के पास जो काम जिसमें इंसान की ज़रूरत है, फॉर इंस्टेंस बीइंग अ कंपेनियन, लिसनिंग टू समवन, telling a story, right? These are the things that computers are not doing right now. So we can do that. We can spend time. We are going towards service industry. So what kind of services machines can provide and which ones machines can't? So any service that machine cannot provide until now is what we as a human have to take up. But things are changing. We need to be creative today because we have to solve problems. No matter, even with the advancement of artificial intelligence, what we'll see is that finally we have to make a decision. We cannot allow those machines to make their decision. Yeah, they cannot, right? Yeah. And there's always a human intervention. So how do we intervene?
Are you guys parents, by the way?
Yes, yep. I am.
So what would you say, what would your advice be now to your children as they are entering the job market? What would your advice be for them? I mean, not that your children probably are.
Yeah. I mean, the students that are coming in, my advice is that focus on, first of all, focus on getting exposure. And by exposure, I mean experiences in different areas. Okay, don't just restrict yourself. Some students are very clear right from the very beginning. They know they are good at this field. Not everybody gets to identify that at an early age. Even at the age of student, even at the age of doing your first 5 years of working, you may not be very clear. Whenever you understand whatever that your passion is, switch to your passion. First of all, my advice is that don't, and second advice to my children that I give every day, that don't worry about your grades. I mean, we as parents have been very harsh on our, on our children, and probably on our students, this pressure of getting those grades. I think
that's kind of Desi thing, isn't it?
Yeah, could be Desi.
No, I think it's more in this culture than, you've got to get the A's.
Exactly.
I think, it's almost everywhere. Even if you look at like United States or Canada and look at the middle class families, they are pushing their kids to go to college, to go to
because the only objective is that you get good grades, you get into a good college, and only if you get into that good college, you will be able to get good jobs, or you'll be successful. So the criteria of success has changed. I mean, my mindset has changed as compared to what it was 10 years back, 5 years back. I mean, I don't push my children for grades. I say study to educate yourself. So that is most important to me. Okay. And secondly, what I would like to say, and to second Shamsab, that over the years as a professional, what skills have grown in me? Not my technical skills. Technical skills have, yes, come along the way. Earlier when I started working, computers were new, so my technical skills were not there, but I learned it over the years because the NEET came in, Excel was something new. I was, when the NEET came in, I learned it. Yeah. Word, I learned it. PowerPoint, I learned it. And that just came in. But what grew with me, and what is it that is going to remain with me, are my skills in terms of ability to understand people, having the empathy to understand the other's point of view, my communication skills, my ability to analyze things differently, my ability to solve problems, look at a problem beyond the problem. I focus my attention on identifying a solution rather than the problem itself. Having the confidence to face multiple challenges at one point in time, I think that is where the strength lies. And this is where I feel that students should be more focused towards the challenges that are there around them. They should not be just pressurized by the grades that they get. Even if you don't get good grades, even if you're sort of an average grader, it's just okay. I was an average grader in my school, I realized, and from a very average kind of school, I was able to do all this, after so many years. Anybody can do it. So that's the kind of message I always give to my students earlier on, and to my younger colleagues.
But doesn't this go back to Dr. Shams's point that we're still operating our education system sort of 200 or 100 years back, where it's only a particular type of knowledge that is graded, or a particular type of education is graded, because it's that sort of hardcore academic education, whereas those softer skills aren't graded, they aren't sort of assessed, they aren't considered important by the educational establishment.
That is true. I mean, to a very high degree. But let me try to answer the question that you asked.
Yeah.
I mean, what would be my advice for my kids, my own kids, and जो अभी हाई स्कूल के बाद इकरा यूनिवर्सिटी को ज्वाइन करने वाले हैं, या जो एडीपी प्रोग्राम में आए या अंडरग्रेड प्रोग्राम में आए, तो आज के ज़माने में आपको ये तो बात हम सुन ही रहे हैं कि लाइफ लॉन्ग लर्निंग होगी, ये कभी ख़त्म नहीं होगी। आपकी ज़िंदगी में 3-4 करियर्स आप स्विच करेंगे फ्रॉम वन टू अनदर। जर्मनी में एक बहुत अच्छा प्रोग्राम उन्होंने रन किया है जिसमें वो हाई स्कूल के बाद अपने स्टूडेंट्स को यूनिवर्सिटी ले जाने के बजाय वो कंपनीज़ के पास भेजते हैं। वो कंपनीज़ उनको एक डिप्लोमा के लिए तैयार करती है, उसके बाद उनको जॉब दे देती है। इट वाज अ वेरी सक्सेसफुल प्रोग्राम। Now they have doubts about it. What they are saying is that they are training our students for a particular kind of a skill, and after a few years or 5 years, those skills are needed to be upgraded. So instead of that, they would rather have people starting their undergraduate studies with a larger view of different subjects. वो उनके ख्याल में ज़्यादा बेहतर है बनस्बत आप कोई हार्ड स्किल की तरफ जाएं और कोई डिप्लोमा लें। तो लाइफ लॉन्ग लर्निंग इज़ व्हाट वी हैव टू कमिट टू, एंड वी हैव टू कमिट टू ऑल दोज सॉफ्ट स्किल्स दैट वी नीड। यानी मेरे बच्चा है या आप ख़ुद हैं, आप कितनी अच्छी तरह से अपनी बात बोल पाते हैं, आप दूसरों के जज्बात का कितना ख्याल करते हैं, आपको हमेशा ज़रूरत पड़ेगी। चाहे आप अपने बॉस से बात करें, चाहे अपने वालिद से बात करें, चाहे आप किसी दुकानदार से बात करें, हमेशा आपको निगोशिएट करना है, आपको परसुएट करना है, आपको कन्विंस करना है। यू हैव टू एक्सप्रेस योरसेल्फ। हाउ वेल कैन यू एक्सप्रेस? कैन यू अंडरस्टैंड द अदर पर्सन's point of view? If you can you repeat that for them to understand?
I think that's really important because I've been on this the hiring side of the table, so to speak, and I've interviewed candidates, and I've probably interviewed candidates that are really technically very good, but I haven't hired them because, as good as they are, unless they're able to communicate both with their peers as well as with the senior management, it's actually slightly redundant what they are able to do, because part of the skill set is being able to keep. So I've often hired less competent people in a particular skill set but are better communicators.
But here I would just like to put this on the thought for all those who would be watching us is what is competence? I think when you say less competent, maybe
in the hard skill.
In the hard skill, yeah. Because
overall competence,
exactly,
yes, yeah.
because a competency is a combination of skills, attitude and knowledge. And what is an education system, unfortunately, in our part of the world, or I see it around me, is they are only working on the knowledge part. What about skills? What about attitude? And the biggest problem, the attitude, this is where the attitude, I may not have the knowledge, okay, because knowledge is never enough.
Do I even need that knowledge anymore?
And knowledge is never enough.
Do I need to have that, all the knowledge memorized anymore?
Exactly.
I don't.
You have Google.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, I mean,
I may not be very good at mental maths. I may not be very good with my spellings. But yes, I have the ability to communicate my message successfully across. I am very good at convincing people. I am very good at negotiating with people. There you go. I mean, I am competent.
Skills, right?
Absolutely. So I think anything and everything, you just rightly pointed out that anything that you say and do, you're doing it for a purpose. I've taught communication for quite some time, and I know, the basic essence of communication, it has to have an objective. Yeah. And what is your objective? Are you reaching that objective? And secondly, another important thing is your thought process. Is your thought process sequential? Are you thinking in such a pattern? And generally, when I'm interviewing candidates, and also fresh graduates, because I know that they are coming in with no experience, what I am looking for? I am looking for the thought process. One is attitude. I think the first and foremost thing is the attitude. Second, whether they have the confidence to convince their message across. And thirdly, what is the thought pattern behind whatever that they are doing and whatever that they plan to do or whatever that they will choose to do. So I think these are the few important things, because I know they don't have experience. I can see it from their grades and from their educational background that they have it on the CV. I'm not going to ask about that. But what I'm looking at through different questions is how are they thinking? Is the thinking pattern right? Can they think through things?
And also, as you say, attitude. It's, do they have the grit? Do they have determination?
And
are they going to stick things?
And in HR, we say hire for potential, not for the technical skill. Hire for potential. Whether
like
the
that.
candidate
Hire for potential.
Exactly. It's I cannot guarantee performance, but if the individual has the potential, there you go.
So let me now we've talked a lot about the soft skills, but also we are an educational institution that teaches technical skills as well. And let me sort of bring in a little plug for our associate degree program here. And this is a program that is providing a lot of some new courses and new degrees in Islamic finance, in cybersecurity, in entrepreneurship. Are these some of the sort of areas that you see growth in terms of employment or skills that are required?
Absolutely. I mean, the ADB program that Iqra University has launched is very important. आप लोग इसको देखें कि पहले हम लोग इंटर के बाद BCom, BA दूसरे कॉलेजेस से कर लेते थे. अब HEC ने उस प्रोग्राम को ख़त्म किया, तो उसकी वजह से अब हमें 2 साल का ये प्रोग्राम यूनिवर्सिटीज़ के ज़रिए देना है और सेमेस्टर के तरीके से देना है. ईच सेमेस्टर वी हैव टू गिव 5 or 6 कोर्सेज़. जो आप ADB का प्रोग्राम देखेंगे तो इसमें हमने 2 चीज़ें की हैं. एक तो हमने ये किया है कि इसका बेस हम ब्रॉड बनाएं, तो आपके पास जो क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग के, आपके पास जो सॉफ्ट स्किल्स चाहिए वो भी आपको मिले, जनरल एजुकेशन मिले, और साथ साथ फिर आप चूज़ कर लें कि आप कौन से 3 या 4 कोर्सेज पिक करेंगे हार्ड स्किल के लिए. तो जैसे जॉर्ज ने कहा कि साइबर सिक्योरिटी, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप, इस्लामिक फाइनेंस, दीज आर द एरियाज़ वेयर वी आर लुकिंग एट ग्रोथ. तो अगर आप ये 2 साल का डिप्लोमा हासिल करते हैं इक़रा यूनिवर्सिटी से, तो नंबर 1 आप फौरी तौर पे किसी जॉब के लिए जा सकते हैं. दूसरा, आप इसको कंटिन्यू कर सकते हैं लेटर ऑन, तो आप कम पैसों के साथ एक डिग्री कंप्लीट करके अपनी नौकरी पे जाकर वहाँ से फिर पैसे कमाकर आप फाइनेंस कर सकते हैं अपनी फर्दर स्टडीज़ को. सो दैट इज़ अ गुड पार्ट ऑफ इट. तो अब आप ये 2 साल में सिर्फ डिप्लोमा कोई नहीं कर रहे, जिसके नतीजे में आप रिस्ट्रिक्टेड हो जाते हैं सिर्फ एक स्किल पे. इसके बजाय आप एक ब्रॉड बेस्ड भी चीज़ों को जान रहे हैं, कर रहे हैं. एंड दैट्स वाई ADP प्रोग्राम इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. और इक़रा यूनिवर्सिटी में जितने लोगों ने मिलकर इसको डिज़ाइन किया है, उसने इस पैडागॉजी को भी ध्यान में रखा है जो आज 21st सेंचुरी की हमें चाहिए, जिसमें कि हमें रिफ्लेक्ट करना है, इंट्रोस्पेक्ट करना है और क्रिएटिवली थिंक करना है.
Great, thank you. Okay, well, I think, oh, by the way, we also do digital marketing, which is another one of our ADP courses. Got to get that in. Final thoughts.
Yeah.
Just 30 seconds. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
To anyone watching.
My final thoughts is whatever that you're doing, focus on thinking beyond that degree program. If you get an opportunity, get some experience, be it, start something on your own. So try and look for avenues of exposure and experience. I think that's something that I'd like to pass on as my final thoughts.
पढ़ना बहुत ज़रूरी है. हम सब लोग जानते हैं आज हमें ज़्यादा पढ़ना पड़ेगा. जब हम लोग रह रहे थे एग्रीकल्चर के ज़माने में, तो उस ज़माने में हमारी पढ़ाई 2-3 साल तक की होती थी. हम इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन में आ गए तो हमारी पढ़ाई जो है 16 साल तक की चली गई, 18 साल तक की चली गई. अब हमें शायद सारी ज़िंदगी पढ़ना है, तो पढ़ना तो ज़रूरी है. अब इस पढ़ने में हमारे पास हमारा जो पर्सपेक्टिव होना चाहिए, वो जनरल पिक्चर को समझने के काबिल बनना चाहिए हमको. वो ज़रूरी है कि हम देखें कि कैसे साइंस का ताल्लुक़ है सोशल साइंस से, ह्यूमैनिटीज़ से, कल्चर का क्या ताल्लुक़ है इकोनॉमी के साथ, टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ. तो वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड द रिलेशनशिप्स दैट वी हैव विद डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ कोर्सेज एंड डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ डिसिप्लिन्स. एंड वंस वी थिंक दैट वी हैव दैट काइंड ऑफ बैकग्राउंड, तब उसके बाद आप इस काबिल होंगे कि आप किसी भी इशू को डिफरेंट लेवल्स पे देख सकें, डिफरेंट लेयर्स में देख सकें. और ADP प्रोग्राम इक़रा यूनिवर्सिटी का और इक़रा यूनिवर्सिटी के अंडरग्रेड जितने भी प्रोग्राम्स हैं, उसमें हम आज कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि 21st सेंचुरी के जो स्किल सेट्स हैं, जिसके बारे में जॉर्ज ने ये बात की, अरुसा साहिबा ने ये बात की, वो हम कैसे अपने स्टूडेंट्स को सिखाएं, उनको पार्टिसिपेट करवाएं। तो वो एक बहुत अहम काम है जो हम लोग कर रहे हैं। तो हमारी पैडागॉजी भी मुख्तलिफ है, हमारे जो एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर एक्टिविटीज़ हैं वो भी आपको तैयार करती हैं। हमारे पास इंटर्नशिप प्रोग्राम है जो आपको हेल्प करता है।
Great. Okay, well, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. Thank you to मेरे मेहमान Dr. Shams Hamid and Rusa Miraj from Miraj. Miraj.
Yeah.
She's a mirage. No, sorry. Head of HR and admin at DKT Pakistan. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I would just like to say thank you. There was a really interesting discussion we had on skills for tomorrow. Just like to say, if you are interested in Iqra's associate degree program, we have an open house session on admissions and career advice tomorrow, which is Friday at 5:30 here at the main campus, which is the EDC Tower. I hope that is enough information for you. EDC Tower, main campus, 5:30 Friday tomorrow here for be there or be square. Okay, thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.